You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. This week's guests include an expert through her own experience on midlife mothering, which is a growing phenomenon among U.S. women. Then, since this past week saw Libya surge tragically back into the headlines, we devote a special double segment to a roundtable with 3 Libyan women's rights leaders in the kind of conversation you just won't hear anywhere else. But first, we need to look inside those headlines. The headlines this past week were to have included news of the Libyan elections for Parliament, a critical step in the democratic transition, but it was overshadowed by a tragic headline. News came late Wednesday that one of Libya's most prominent human rights activists and women's rights activists had been assassinated in her home in Benghazi shortly after she had voted and shortly after she had gone online on Facebook to urge people to vote, not to be intimidated by the militant Islamist forces that were trying to disrupt the election. Her name was Salwa Bugejis. She had stood up to Gaddafi and later on to the Islamists and to the generals. She was a lawyer, and she was a feminist. And, as of now, unknown assailants, but it is widely thought Islamist militants, fought their way into her home and stabbed and shot her to death. She had been an early participant in the 2011 uprising against Colonel Gaddafi. It was she who many thought started the revolution. She had defended prisoners, and when women held a sit-in in Benghazi at the Justice Department, she, as the lawyer for their men who were imprisoned, sat in with them. And because she was so highly regarded, even by people in Gaddafi's government, there was an uprising that began because Salwa Bugejis had sat down with the other women. She was not an old woman. She was only in her 40s. She had been an activist all of her life. She was a role model for women because she was a confident professional. She never wore the hijab. And I knew her. I spoke with her by phone, although I never actually met her, but she was a friend of Farida Alaghi, the prominent Libyan feminist who has been on this program. We did have one phone conversation and some time ago, a few months ago, and she said during it that they never dreamed that their uprising would come about so quickly once it started. And now she said we have to start from the very beginning because Gaddafi left us with only one institution standing, the institution of fear. All other institutions had been destroyed. So please, please be patient with us. Tell the world, be patient with us. She also said that the revolution was an earthquake to the cultural status of women in Libya. And they don't intend to lose what they've gained, she said, as Libyan women. They'd never participated before in protests. These were taboo. But the revolution, she said, made us proud to be there, right on the front line. And men, including our own men, were forced to accept us. And now there are many who think it's time for women to go home. But unlike Algeria and the way that women are always betrayed in revolutions, we will not simply go quietly. She never went anywhere quietly. She was beautiful and funny and wise and very courageous. She is survived by a husband who is still missing, however, after the ambush on their home in Benghazi, and by 3 children, and by a blood sister, Iman Bugejis, who was also an anti-Gaddafi activist and became an activist in the uprising along with Salwa. We know that Iman will continue fighting, as will her not blood sisters, all across the world. Some are saying this was the day with her death that Libya died. But she would say, then resurrected, and resurrected for women. And we pledge her we will. And now for our first guest. Cyma Shapiro is determined to redefine women and middle age, specifically in terms of mothering. She is an expert on midlife mothering. She's blogged about it, written books about it, organized a traveling national art show about it, and today she's here to tell us about it. Welcome to the program, Cyma.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell us about midlife motherhood and the new older parenthood.
I think the new older parenthood is a rising phenomenon which is definitively here to stay. In our particular case, we defined midlife mothers, new older mothers, as those women over 40, simply because we felt that that was an age where women are making a more conscious choice and are also exploring other avenues other than natural childbirth. But I do think that midlife or new older parenting for many women does start from age 35 on.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And the book is called?
The Zen of Midlife Mothering, which is 50 of the best 600 essays so far posted on Mothering in the Middle, which is our website for all things midlife mothers.
Wow. And I think one of the essays is by my friend Suzanne Braun-Levine.
Yes, it is.
Yes, who wrote Inventing the Rest of Our Lives and has done a number of books. 50 is the New 50 and How We Love Now. And so she contributed to this as well. How great.
How great that I really was able to get not only established and well-known authors and writers, but those up-and-coming writers, and even some women who are really newbies just finding their voice. Mm-hmm. I felt it important to show the depth, the breadth, and the width of who we are and what our voices sound like, what our message is. I was lucky to find them all.
Yes. Tell me, am I right in assuming, I think the initial assumption would be that women come to midlife mothering because they've been interested in their careers or putting their own sort of fingerprint on their life first. Is that right?
I think that would be true for some of the majority. I certainly think that the message of the 60s and 70s women who said to really catapult your own personal desires first and foremost, your own career, before finding a mate or having a family. So I think that the message is pretty deeply entrenched in my generation. But I also think that there are plenty of women who are coming back to motherhood after 40, coming into motherhood after 40 because they're becoming a blended step family. There are a variety of reasons why women have come here. And I might add that for all of these women, they're coming through 7 differing methods. That would be natural childbirth, IVF, blended step families, adoption, international or national, surrogacy, fostering, and guardianship. So truly, we run the gamut of reasons and methods.
And what do we say to people who you just know that the first response would be, well, these women are too old to do this, and then you'll be too old to raise the child? It doesn't seem a very good response to me. But what do you answer them?
Well, interestingly, I took my life lesson from Frida Birnbaum, who is my friend and happens to be one of, if not the oldest woman in the United States to have children. She is now 67, and her youngest children are 6.5. So she had her twins.
Wow.
She has adult children, and she has a 13-year-old. But, I posed the question to her, and she said, number one, whoever can tell whether or not life will become a long life as opposed to a younger life cut short. And secondly, her parents lived into their late 80s, and she expects that she would too. And so she feels that she would be available to her own children throughout much of the biggest milestones. So I think that when you combine those two thoughts together, it's true. We are never guaranteed long life. We assume we're going to have it.
Right.
And we can only put our best foot forward in doing the best job we can while we're here.
Right. It's like all those parents who told their daughters, get married so that you'll be secure. And then they found that, they were one divorce away from, or one widowhood away from welfare.
Absolutely. I think also that we're in the beginning stages of this movement. I have no reason to believe that this will ever go away, and I have no reason to believe that the age of becoming a mother may not increase even more. And I think that it warrants another discourse 10 or 20 years from now. I think we need a little bit more under our belt to be able to make some determinations about whether or not this was a smart move on the part of these women, whether or not this was an easy move, whether or not this had detrimental effects on the children. I think that will be the next generation's discussion.
Yeah. And you've created a whole, community out of this, because your blog site is now welcoming lots of women who come in with their stories and share online, yes?
Yes, correct. I am the writer-creator of the art gallery show Nurture, Stories of New Midlife Mothers, which has been traveling North America for the last 3 years. And out of that, we created Mothering in the Middle, the blog site for all things midlife mothers in writing. And now we have the Zen of Midlife Mothers, which is the only anthology by and for midlife mothers and fathers currently on the market. So I'm always looking for another way to get ourselves out there and somehow resonate. So if we resonate by our words, that's great. If it's by our pictures, our photographs, that's great too.
Sure. One would think that just on the surface of it, that there were more midlife fathers than mothers. Is that true? Because it's just easier for them.
I have to go back to Frida, who bristles when this comes up about how men like Donald Trump and Rod Stewart and Alec Baldwin seem to get the limelight without any recrimination, and there's a woman like Frida for whom the media went to town.
I don't blame her.
I don't either. And the truth of the matter is Frida really isn't alone. I mean, she may be, there may not be that many women choosing motherhood at 60, but there's certainly a large number of women over 45 and even over 50 now.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing, and I hope that soon society realizes that, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah. Well, there's a problem with fatherhood in general in this country and in this society, and that is only now beginning to surface and be addressed. So they just get an easier. They claim an easier turf all the way, including as midlife or older fathers.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Give the websites again, please.
Sure. The art gallery show is www.midlifemothers.org. The website with essays is www.motheringinthemiddle.com. And our new book is The Zen of Midlife Mothering.
And they can get the new book on Amazon or at any book?
Yes, absolutely everywhere, yes.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Cyma, for doing this and for opening an entire new area of life to women and bringing attention and support to it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We need to take a short break here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. And when we return in just a moment, we'll be talking with Libyan women about what it is they're really up against and what they're doing about it, too.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
Welcome back. You might well think that the women of Libya, like those in the rest of the Arab world as depicted by the U.S. media, are forever wailing over their dead while wrapped in black hijabs. the reality is quite different, of course. The three women you're about to hear from are educated, articulate, dedicated political activists and feminists. One is a lawyer and a writer, one is a financial and business expert, and one is a gender research expert in academia. They all are the type of feminist activist committed to equality and empowerment for Libyan women that Salma Bugajis was. This roundtable was taped, however, before news of her assassination came. I'm here with three remarkable Libyan women, with Azza Maghur, who is a lawyer, and who has been living in Libya all this time through the worst of it and through the revolution and through what's happening now. And also Maysoon Tughar, who lives in Switzerland, but is Libyan, and Sahar Madiha al-Naas, who is an academic and a writer. And each of them is more, and all of them are feminists. I corralled them into doing the show so we could learn from their different perspectives what is going on with women in Libya now. So, Azza, starting with you, would you just say a few words about yourself so we can identify the voice with the name?
Yes, sure. I'm Azza Maghur. I was born in Tripoli, traveled a lot outside of Libya, and then reside in Tripoli for a time now. And I'm a lawyer. I worked in high-profile cases. I did lots of litigation in criminal law, and I am a short story writer.
Aha. That's the part that especially appeals to me. And Maysoon?
Yes, my name is Maysoon Tughar. I have been born and raised abroad. My parents were diplomats. I spent a lot of time outside of Libya, and then I went back. My background is really finance and business. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about myself, yeah.
Good. And Sahar, or do you prefer to be called Sahar or Madiha?
Sahar Madiha, if you don't mind.
Both of them together. Okay.
I was born in Libya and educated to the university level, and then moved to the UK in 1995, where I started studying and working with women's organizations fighting violence against women. Mm-hmm. My background in Libya, when I did my degree in Tripoli, I did fine art. But then when I moved to England and I started working with women's organizations, I decided to do my master in gender and identity in the Middle East. So I've been since 1995 in England, based, working and studying, and at the moment I am a trustee in Devon Rape Crisis Center, but I am in between Libya and the UK, so I spend time in Libya doing work with women's organizations fighting violence against women. So I am in between. My area is gender and identity and gender-based violence.
Gender identity, okay. All right. Well, as you know, what the West knows, and this is an international program, so it's more than the West, but mostly what the world knows about Libya is very little. And what it knows about Libyan women is even less. What is it we should know, just to start, other than that the women made the revolution and are being, in effect, betrayed by it all over again? But what is it we should know about Libyan women that we don't, and that would enable us to be supportive in the right way for Libyan women? We'll start with, let's start backward. Let's start with Sahar Madiha, because you talked about working with women.
Libyan women are very strong women, and so they participated in the revolution in every way, not just cooking for the fighters, as some media portrayed them just cooking for fighters. They actually participated in smuggling weapons, in smuggling images to the international community to show what Gaddafi, the brutality of Gaddafi during the 6 months of fighting. and they created the civil society in Libya. There is so many Libyan women's organizations doing so much work at the moment. So Libyan women are really strong women. They sparkled the revolution, but because of the political situation at the moment, there is a lot of setback of women's rights, and now after the revolution is finished, there is conservative forces in Libya want women to go back to the kitchen and just be housewives. Of course, Libyan women are strong, and we have so many examples that the world don't know of, because for 42 years Libya been out of the map, and a lot of people don't know much, as you mentioned, about Libyan women. But we have fierce women. We have very strong women, like, for example, Azza al-Maghur, like Farida al-Lagi, like Zainab al-Zaidi, who I know personally. Zainab al-Zaidi is a journalist and activist. She was a candidate for the Constituted Assembly, and she won 1 seat out of 6 for women out of 60 seats. And she's one of the strongest women I really admire in Libya. So what the world don't know about Libyan women, we're not weak, we're not victims. We're strong women. But the political situation now put us in a very difficult position, and our rights are threatened at the moment. But we still fight. We still fight. We're not gonna give up, and we're not gonna let them send us back.
I certainly did not think, and I think many feminists internationally do not think of Libyan women, excuse me, as being weak, whatever the media says. I remember, in fact, it was women, as you say, who started the revolution. Wasn't it a woman lawyer, a district attorney or something in Benghazi who started the strike that sparked the fire that led to the uprising? But when there is backlash, is the backlash coming from expectable quarters, the way it does all over, and including in the United States from religious fundamentalisms? Maysoon, what would you say about that?
I'll go back and tell you about Libyan women. If you ask me who are Libyan women, I'll just tell you they're women like any other woman from any other country.
Right,
what
exactly.
They want, their aspirations, their needs are exactly the same. You've mentioned the fundamentalists. The backlash is really true. It's from the religious fanatics who interpret our religion in a very peculiar way. It's something very new to us, really. In the past, we have lived with tyranny, but today we're living with a completely different ideological tyranny. So yes, that's really a problem. And when you have the lack of institutions, the lack of justice institutions, they could go all the way, and that's really a problem. There's no impunity. So yes, we do have a problem. Not only Libya, I think it's throughout the whole Arab Spring countries.
Yes.
Yes, they are flourishing because they have room to flourish, and nobody is bringing them accountable. And let me also tell you that they are backed financially by different countries, different powers, different interest groups, and that's something that that has to be looked into and taken into consideration.
Since you have a financial background, I was going to ask you precisely about that. The control of Libyan finances, or the lack of infrastructure, the lack of institutions given 40 some odd years of dictatorship, and before that of colonialism. What is it? Is it the IMF? Is it foreign corporations? What is the culprit there? Or I'm sure there are many contributing, but
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, the IMF, the World Bank, are all, coming and going
to Libya and trying to implement. But there's also a lack of cooperation and a lack of follow-up from the Libyan side, unfortunately. But, if you look at the past 40 years, Gaddafi really treated the Libyan treasury as his own. There was no separation of his finances to our country's finances. This is why today we have a lack of awareness. We don't know. I mean, there's an estimate by Revenue Watch that, Libya oil revenue since the discovery of oil is about $7 trillion. You certainly don't see $7 trillion in our country, in the infrastructure in our country.
No. So although you have the resource, the natural resources, in a sense, the financial system is not yet rebuilt. I mean, it's not built.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you another thing, and this is, with the Islamic fundamentalist forces that have, pushed for a law through parliament, through the temporary parliament, where they don't have the mandate to push for laws like this to ban interest from banks.
Right.
So they want to force the whole population to go and do Sharia compliant banking.
Right.
Now they have not even taken into consideration that we don't have. First of all, we don't have the capacity for that, the knowledge base. And secondly, they're taking the choice from the people. I mean, if I don't want Islamic finance, I want to go to the conventional banking system. And they're not giving us this choice. It's a one-way, intolerant way. They want us to live by their code of conduct, their moral code, which is the best code. And this is the problem I have. The intolerance towards us, the moderates. We are the moderates.
Yes.
We are the moderate voice. And we have been taken and hijacked by the fanatics, mad people.
It seems, and I would love Azza to address this, it seems from outside that although Tunisia at the moment is sort of managing to squeak by, Egypt is now, of course, in spasm. And of my numerous Egyptian friends, there is a real feeling of tremendous depression because the choices seem to be you can go secular and tyrannical, the army, absolute control. It's like returning to, in their case, Mubarak, or in your case, Gaddafi. Your other choice, is Islamism and Sharia. I mean, these are insupportable choices for a country to survive at all, much less for women to survive. It's a hell of a bad choice, system. Azza, what would you say about that, and how do we get a middle way going?
I think the road towards democracy is a long road, and I think we have to be patient, and we have to accept that there are some lapses, there are some problems, there are some catastrophes sometimes. But I think we cannot judge, from now what's going to happen. The example in Egypt is really hurting, and I think that they're back to square one. The army is not only after the Islamists, but it's also after the
youth and the women.
The youth and the women and anybody who has who would criticize
That's right.
the military people in government. And I think also that maybe you cannot also start to lash the Islamists and say that they are at the end they are part of the society, and we have to deal with them. They have to learn how to play. It's as simple as that. I think Morsi did the mistake, but also the army did the mistake. Maybe Morsi was forcing the Islamists to be in power and to get everything very quickly and not to play fair game in democracy. I think he started what now they know. What happened to them is they should not be repeated, and they had a very big opportunity that they just missed.
They blew
because of stubborn and stupidity and everything. So I think what happened in Egypt affected the Islamists in Tunisia, and they were more clever, and they were clear in the constitution that the state of Tunisia is a secular state. It's not a secular. I don't not say use that, but it's a civil state.
A civil
and
state.
that human rights and everything. And this means that it is not. When you say civil state, it means in Arabic, it means it's not a religious state. So they played it well. I hope that people in Libya understand this. But I don't want to talk about, that we are one society and we have to find a common ground. We have to,
Yes.
if we want to continue, and we want to be respectful, and we want to have a better future for our kids. We have to find a compromise. We cannot just start, everybody against the other camp, and either you're secular or you're religious, in the States, you find a mosaic of people, and they still have common grounds because there are laws, because there is a constitution, because there is discipline, because everybody knows his rights and his obligations, and everything is done properly. We need something common to start with, but I cannot ask everybody to be secular. They cannot ask everybody to be religious. Nobody can ask. It doesn't work that way.
You're calling for, of course, a pluralist society. And although the United States may look good from where you're standing, believe me, I can tell you that there's been a tremendous polarization here, that we have our own religious fundamentalism, that we have our own extreme right-wing tendencies. And it's just a matter of, holding it together. I mean, as best we can. And you know what else? It takes time. We were discussing this. I mean, somehow there seems to be a double standard. The Arab uprising is expected to turn this around and bang, in 24 hours, have democracy. The United States, for 45 years later, after the Constitutional Convention was signed, only 45 years later was the beginning of the Civil War. And during that entire 45 years, there were breakouts, there were riots, there were, so we are no model. I mean, we've done it, but we're still in the process of doing it here. I have to interrupt here for a moment, since we have to pause for another short break here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, and we'll be right back with a continuation of our Women of Libya Roundtable. Don't go away.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
And we're back again, picking right up with our roundtable of Libyan feminists, Azza Maghur, a lawyer and writer, Maysoon Tughar, who's in business and finance, and Sahar Madiha al-Naas, who's in gender research as an academic. They're eager to talk about the women of Libya. Tell me about the women in Libya and women's rights, and have there been rollbacks, or why is it so difficult to get a constitution and get us into that constitution, us being women?
I don't think it's the right time for us to write our constitution. I think it's the wrong time, actually. I think we needed some time until we build up our institutions and then probably go into drafting a constitution.
I see.
How could you draft a constitution when you have militias, when you have people with ideology who has arms and who can impose their own will on a constitution? It's not going to work that way. I think me, myself, and others were proposing either we go back to the 1951 constitution and we revive it for the time being, or we make amendments to the constitutional declaration and we head for another 2-3 years until we build up ourselves and we make some arrangements and then we draft a constitution. But I don't know why people are forcing things to be done, and this pushing hard is not in our favor, in my opinion. And maybe we can get into the Egyptian situation. I wish we would not.
Interesting.
But I think also that, as I always told you, in our private talks, women is not a priority in Libya, and this is a major problem. If you come and you talk about women, they but not now. It's not important, Women are majority in Libya. We are over 50%. Yes, and the other thing is that women are for me, we're all the same. It's just the environment that we are in that maybe makes the differences.
Yes.
It's not us being women. It's we all have our sufferance, our sentimentals, our ups and downs, and we can sit down and talk about kids, or talk about ourselves, or talk about our jobs, or talk about our unemployment. It's all involving our health problems. It's all the same. It's only the problem that the differences are made because of different environments.
That's right.
And even in Libya itself, I don't represent all Libyan women. We're different. Women from the village is different from the women from the city. Women from the desert is different from woman who lives next to the coast. So environment actually makes the difference and makes the
what I often say is that the sets and the costumes change of the play, but the plot is very much the same. You know, and we know, don't we know by now, that being told to wait until after the revolution is over winds up an absolute disaster for us. I mean, this has happened again and again and again and again and again, starting with Algeria, starting with the United States Revolution. There's not been a revolution that didn't use women's energy and labor, and loyalty, tremendous loyalty,
and voice,
yes, and we're all brothers and sisters, and we're all coming in on this together, and then suddenly, not so much you back to the kitchen, and at some point this has got to stop. I know that you were discussing this at the United Nations today. What should the United Nations be doing that they're not? Or what should governments around the world be doing that they're not? Is it investing? In other words, how to be supportive without meddling? I guess that's what I'm after. How to use the model of a midwife instead of a controlling foreign power. And that would be true for women who are not Libyan as well. What do we do to be supportive but not controlling? Is there such a role, or should we just shut up and wait and watch for now?
Is this question for me, Azza?
Anybody, all of you.
Okay.
All of you.
I want to mention only one thing, and I think we have to make people understand, especially people in power, that we are not inventing the wheel. There is this is over. You know, women has been through all of this. I don't want to go through this again. Frankly, if it happened in Sweden, a rural country with the people were farmers there, and if it happened in South Africa where there was this apartheid, it's going to happen in Libya. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
You know, we're not going to start from zero. We're not. I'm sick and tired of explaining about basic things. You know, that there is difference between equality in law and equality in reality. And when you put equality in law, it's not enough.
Yes.
I need some means for me in order for me to reach to legal equality. I need some means, and this is something that you find in the CEDAW convention. So I can't, and that Libya is under obligations to abide by the CEDAW convention. We cannot start the conversation from zero again.
Right.
So it's very difficult for me every time there is a discussion on women's rights. You have to start and explain everything all over again. Men or some men are not interested in knowing these things, and they don't even know that it exists.
Yes.
So how can we deal with this? I mean, you can help us in. You can help us in is by explaining this to these people at least. Come and visit, more visits, more programs. Make discussions with men on women's rights, on the struggle of women all around the world, on the Industrial Revolution, on the 70s, on. These things are important for them to understand, but it's not us to explain. It's difficult for me to have the case and explain it.
Yeah,
I can't be the client. I cannot be the client and the lawyer. It's not possible.
No, you
can't. Either I'm the client or I'm the lawyer. Now, what's happening in Libya today is that we are doing both jobs at the same time. We have interest and we're defending. It's not possible. It's very difficult. You need someone to help you in this. Well, it's not to help us because we know our rights, but it's to help the others to understand that there are already big, road that has been taken by
Yes.
other women, and that's how women reach this situation.
Well,
so
we've
don't
been
put
trying.
me back in zero.
We've been trying, God knows.
Yes.
And
Okay.
sometimes I think the only thing to do is to hit them over the head with wrapped up copies of CEDAW. CEDAW being the Convention to End All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, for my listeners' sake.
Yeah.
And it's laughable because many countries are signatories to CEDAW, but then they make exceptions. Other countries are signatories and they don't make exceptions, but they just ignore it. So, there's a hypocrisy, of course, that goes down. They don't want to be educated because it means a change in power. But would anybody else like to address that? Maysoon, maybe if we come in, maybe if women seized the oil fields and the finance, they would listen to us.
For me, I think it's going back to your question from what we need from the international community. We really need assistance. We don't need finances. We lack, knowledge. We lack know-how. We lack consolidation of efforts. This is what I see in Libya. I just see in Libya that it's there's a lot of effort. I mean, everybody's coming to Libya. Everybody is getting donor money to come to Libya, but then you don't see concrete evidence, and there isn't anything that is collective and sustainable. And this is where we need the help from the international community, especially the United States, the United Nations, the USAID, the European Union, these kind of agencies. And involving local people, involving us. And I see, they bring all these fancy experts who pretend that they know everything, but, when they come there, they don't really know the country. They get it wrong most of the time. So I think it's very important to engage with the locals, with the youth, with women, with teachers, with the communities,
One of the things that we've been trying to do is to educate the United Nations agencies. And we've made some small progress, but it's very, very slow. So that when aid agencies or when private foundations go into a country, they deal not just as an ancillary or an addition or an appendage, but they deal with women as the priority. Because for one thing, if a man eats, he eats, period. If a woman has food, you know that her family eats. If women are less corrupt, it's a simple fact. It's, maybe it's because we haven't been near power for so long that we don't know how to be corrupt. Whatever the reason, if aid agencies and international agencies would deal with women as if women were in leadership, this would move along much, much faster. But of course, it's difficult to persuade them to do that because they're usually run by guys.
Yeah, I think the mindset is changing.
Yes.
I think people have started to look at the case of peace and security, especially with the UN Resolution 1325, and that's changing the mindset, the way we think, the way we plan, and involving women in peacekeeping. I mean, we see these examples involving women in the ministries of defense, involving women with the Ministry of Interior. These are positions. These are positions for men for so long. But today you find, 2 or 3 ministers of defense in Europe are women.
Right.
Which is not bad.
No,
really.
It's making progress. It is.
It's making progress, and I think women always have a different understanding towards other women's issues.
Yes.
And they're more sympathetic, and they're more logical, and they're more compassionate, and And honestly, I think when women are added to the equation, things are much, much better. And this is what we hope to do. And this is why we are here in New York. We're trying to create awareness, to create exposure. We are here. Work with us. We work with you. And let's make progress. Because the safety and the security of Libya is the safety and the security of the whole of the Mediterranean.
Of course.
And the U.S. also should be concerned about the safety of Libya,
Yes.
So this is very, very important. We're too close to Europe. We're too close to the West.
You know, we're not Afghanistan, huh?
No, you're next door.
Yeah.
You're next door.
Absolutely.
And how about a closing word or two from you, Sahar, Madiha?
I just want to add one thing. You asked how can the international community help. I've noticed something, specifically the UN jobs, vacancies in the Middle East and the Arabic countries. They never ask for somebody who can speak Arabic. English is the main required language, but Arabic is not. And this is, for me, very problematic.
It's very arrogant.
If you really want to send somebody to help people in a country, at least they need to know how or to be able to communicate.
Yes.
So for especially with women's issues, if you send somebody who cannot understand or speak the language, how can they help women from the grassroots level, women who can't speak English? So the result will be these agencies representative will be dealing with only the elite group of women who can speak English.
That's right.
And they don't necessarily represent, the rest of the women, for example, in Libya. They're not necessarily represent or know what are the needs for Libyan women. So to be able to help Libyan women, for example, please send somebody who at least can speak Arabic. This is one thing. The other thing is, before pouring so much money in the country to run workshops and conferences and God knows what, do a little bit of research and find out what are the needs of Libyan women. And, you can put your plan according to the needs, or your agenda according to the needs of Libyan women, rather than according to agenda for, somebody else. Because what's happening now on the ground, there's a lot of money being, put in Libya for civil society to run, awareness, raising awareness, capacity building, training, workshops, conferences, etc. But all these are there isn't a kind of monitoring. What's the word?
Mechanism.
Thank you. Yes, monitoring mechanism to find out what is the impact on the ground. So you run like hundreds of empowering workshops, women empowering women in leadership, and then come back and find out where that led. This knowledge, was it transformative knowledge? Did it go to other women? What we gained from that? What was the impact?
So in other words, do your homework first, and also maybe speak the language would help, and then look at it and analyze what's gone down and was it a success or not afterwards. These are eminently sensible. They ought you shouldn't even have to name them because they're so obvious, but obviously you do have to name them. And I think that the language thing is just is pure arrogance. For a very long while, the State Department just wasn't interested in Arabic speakers, and then after 9/11, it took something like 9/11 to suddenly make them very interested. So it's on so many levels. We're dealing with arrogance, male power, male supremacy, Western power, white power. But when I get very depressed, I think there are people like you in the world, and we're step by step we're going to change all of this. I'm incredibly grateful to the three of you, to Azza Maghur, to Maysoon Tughar, and to Sahar Madiha al-Naas, for being with us on the program and for doing the work that you do in Libya and elsewhere in the world.
Yes, thank you very much, Robin.
Thank you very much, Robin. We really appreciate you.
Shukran atir. Shukran atir.
Thank you.
And my only other words in Arabic, which I speak with a Palestinian accent because it's Palestinians who taught me, so this might or might not sound good in Libyan Arabic, is Bahibik ya ukhti.
I love you, sister.
Exactly. You understood. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
We have to take one last break here at Women's Media Center Live, where I remain Robin Morgan, hopeful and resolute. We'll be back in just a moment, and when we come back, we will have some fighting words.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
Welcome back again, and welcome to Fighting Words. President Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative about endangered black men and black youth was all very well, but Brittany Cooper on this program in early May from Crunk Collective criticized it, as she had done in a remarkable article posted online, about what about black women and girls, just as endangered, if not more. Then in late May, 200 concerned black men addressed a letter to President Obama taking that same position. And now, Why We Can't Wait, Women of Color Urge Inclusion in My Brother's Keeper is an important open letter that is posted on the African American Policy Forum website, aapf.org. It is a matter of extreme concern, I think, to all women. The letter posts statistics about the reality that black girls and black women face, and all women of color and all girls of color. For example, our daughters' lives are disproportionately at risk, as data on violent victimization make clear. Native American girls are victims of rape or sexual assault at more than double the rate of other racial groups, while black girls have the highest rates of interpersonal victimization from assault and are more likely to know their assailant than all other groups. Additionally, the homicide rate among black girls and women ages 10 to 24 is higher than for any other group of females and higher than white and Asian men as well. Our daughters' access to education is disproportionately compromised. Black girls 3 times more likely to be suspended from school than white girls, disproportionately funneled through the juvenile justice systems, the first step in a process that leads to over-incarceration of black women, who are 3 times more likely to wind up behind bars than white women. Additionally, the 4-year graduation rate for Latinas is the lowest among all girls. Our daughters' economic futures are disproportionately undermined by wage and wealth inequity. Our daughters are ignored and under-researched, and so forth, and so on. To those who would urge us to take up our concerns with the White House Council on Women and Girls, we note that the Council, like many gender-focused initiatives on women, lacks an intersectional frame that would address the race-based challenges. I would also add personally that the White House Council on Women does not have the budget of $200 million a year for startup that the My Brother's Keeper initiative has. So I would urge the women of color and girls of color who might be listening to go to aapf.org, African American Policy Forum, and sign on to this letter. Close to 2,000 signatories are already there, and I would urge the European American women who want to stand in support of this effort to write to the President and make it clear to him we believe our brother's keeper should be our brothers and our sisters' keeper. And the other item in Fighting Words this week is the court's recent decision on Hobby Lobby. The court has decided that a boss can determine a woman's reproductive rights, her health rights, and deny her insurance coverage under the Affordable Care Act. This is an abomination. Now we have businesses having religious rights, if they object to a procedure, and we have corporations having free speech rights. Meanwhile, human beings have fewer and fewer rights, which would have the framers spinning in their graves. It's hard to know who is human any longer, but I begin to think that the folks who are sitting on the Supreme Court, at least the right side of the court, and the Chief Justice, might be from another planet. that's it for this week. You've been listening to us on CBS Radio WJFK 1580 AM, or you've been visiting us at WMCLive.com for this and for a whole rich archive of all our previous episodes. Be sure to find WMC Live on Facebook, Twitter, and at iTunes worldwide, where you can stream, download, and subscribe to the show's podcast. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. WMC President and Executive Producer of this program, Julie Burton. Senior Producer, Crystal Williams Chancellor. And our founding sponsor, Regina K. Scully. I'm Robin Morgan. Thanks for being with us. Join us next week when we'll ask, is there such a thing as feminist architecture? And we'll visit shelters in the South, and we'll talk with the founder of an organization that literally reinvents the wheel, helps women in need get mobility. All that only here on Women's Media Center Live.
For the smartest talk about news, politics, sex, books, religion, race, and more, tune your radio to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Audacious, witty, provocative, informative, and fun. It's Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio and WMCLive.com. Talk radio with a brain.